Tonight, as hospital staffing shortages mount across the country, urgent calls from doctors.
Right now, if my loved one gets sick, I'm not sure if I will send it to my hospital.
The concern for patients and the demands for accountability. 18 years, a January 6th insurrection leader. Here's his fate.
He never assaulted anyone. He never destroyed any property.
In the final days of campaigning, Alberta leaders hit on a key voter concern: affordability.
Gas prices, groceries, rent prices are skyrocketing again.
Rosie and At Issue are here.
This is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Well, even as Donald Trump's 2024 presidential run gathers steam, his loss in the last one is still making news. A far-right militia leader just got handed the longest prison sentence yet for crimes committed in the January 6 U.S. Capitol attacks. Stewart Rhodes founded and leads the Oath Keepers. He is guilty of orchestrating rioters, in the words of prosecutors, like a battleground general. His sentence today, 18 years for his role in a violent siege that shocked the country. Paul Hunter leads us off tonight from Washington.
In handing down an 18-year sentence, said the U.S. federal court judge Stewart Rhodes is an ongoing threat, a peril to America and U.S. democracy. Smart, charismatic, dangerous.
Stand down, police!
A leader in the attempted insurrection on Capitol Hill January 6th. It is the longest sentence yet for anyone who played a role on that day. Rhodes is founder and leader of the Oath Keepers group. Note the logo on the T-shirt. Prosecutors argued he, quote, plotted and planned the rioting. All carried out in the name of then-President Donald Trump to wrongly keep him in power. Convicted in November of seditious conspiracy, in sentencing, the judge said, quote, Americans will now hold our collective breaths every time an election is approaching. Rhodes showed no emotion in court and called himself a political prisoner.
He is a political prisoner, okay?
His lawyers suggested they will appeal.
I think that this case was all about the weaponization of speech by the Department of Justice. He never went into the Capitol. He never assaulted anyone. He never destroyed any property.
But prosecutors effectively argued words matter. The evidence includes an audio recording of Rhodes prior to January 6th.
But I do want some road keepers to stay on the outside and to stay fully armed and prepared to go in armed if they have to. So if kicks off, then you rock and roll, okay?
The lengthy sentence for Rhodes and as well a 12-year sentence for another Oath Keeper may signal similar penalties for others who may follow. As it was put earlier this month,
the Justice Department will never stop working to defend the democracy to which all Americans are entitled.
So, Paul, looking at the conviction, looking at the sentence, this isn't quite treason, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's right up there. Basically just a step this side of treason. And so it's taken very seriously. That's why the sentence was 18 years for organizing rebellion against the government. Today also signals that the U.S. Justice Department is now moving full speed into penalties, not simply for those who carried out the violence that day, but those who planned it and who made it happen. And let's not forget all of this as the DOJ continues investigating as well the role Donald Trump himself may have played on that day. Bottom line, much more to come on this file, Adrian.
Indeed. Paul Hunter in Washington. Thank you. Some headaches for air travelers earlier today after all Air Canada and Rouge flights were briefly grounded over a computer issue. Air Canada says it suffered a technical issue with the system it uses to communicate with and monitor aircraft. The problem was resolved after about an hour. 15 flights were canceled, just over 100 were delayed. There are new calls to tackle the healthcare crisis being felt right across this country. Tonight, the epicenter is in Ontario, where a community is fighting to save its only emergency department. But as Philip Lee Shannock shows us, they are not alone.
The sign says it all. Bad news in big, bold letters. Next week, this town's emergency department will close for good. But the town is fighting back, gathering a petition.
24,274.
Even mounting a court challenge. The population of the town, 2.5 hours northeast of Toronto, swells in the summertime, and so do the demands on the local hospital. Now those who need urgent care will have to drive 20 minutes away, which people here say will cost lives.
Someone is going to die, and we are sitting here praying it won't happen, but we know it will, because somewhere along the line, somebody who needs to be seen within that, that golden hour of care for a heart attack or a stroke is not going to get to an emergency department.
In hospitals across the country, healthcare workers are raising the alarm that this summer could be a bad time to end up in an ER. Outside Surrey Memorial Hospital in BC, patients say, don't waste your time here.
It's so frustrating for people that they'd rather go home hurt than to go to the hospital.
This emergency room physician agrees that conditions have gotten worse.
If my loved one gets sick, I'm not sure if I would send it to my hospital.
In Alberta, almost 200 Calgary emergency physicians signed an open letter warning of long waits due to ER staffing shortages.
It's so distressing to see patients sick in hallways and in waiting rooms.
The Canadian Medical Association says the problems are not new. Staffing shortages, a lack of long-term care beds, and a shortage of family doctors. The federal government promised a one-time health care transfer payment to address urgent needs.
Until those dollars start flowing and the planning starts changing and we start moving forward with a different vision of how we deliver healthcare in this country, I think we're going to continue to see the collapse of our emergency departments across the country.
The $46 billion funding package, it'll be phased in over the next decade. Meanwhile, that ER crisis, it's here now. Philip Lishanok, CBC News, Toronto.
And a Toronto area school board is investigating serious allegations of violence after an unnamed middle school teacher posted a plea for help on Twitter. And similar worrying behaviors are being reported across the country. Deanna Sumnak-Johnson looks into claims of assault, threats, and intimidation.
At a middle school outside Toronto, an anonymous letter written by a teacher describes an atmosphere of violence and indignity. Students will throw empty cups at teachers' heads, and students have defecated on the floor of washrooms and rubbed their feces on the wall. In an interview with CBC News, the teacher, who asked to have their identity concealed, said that doors are locked in our school. There's not one door that's unlocked, because if you leave a door unlocked, a student will come in. They could steal something. They could vandalize. It's a scary place to be. The situation she describes does not appear to be unique. In its recent member survey, the Ontario Elementary Teachers Union found that 77% of respondents say they have personally experienced violence or witnessed violence against another staff member.
Since the pandemic, it is absolutely exasperated. Students were home for 2 years, basically, without social interaction with others. So those social skills, those self-regulating skills didn't occur.
Other provinces report similar trends. Workers' Compensation Board of British Columbia saw times lost claims related to violence in the workplace rise by 25% between 2018 and 2022. Of all professions reporting these claims, educators were number 2. This Nova Scotia Teachers Union leader says smaller classes, more support staff would be a good start.
So folks like guidance counselors, school psychologists, social workers, that kind of thing. But we're also talking about just more caring adults in school buildings who can look out for kids.
So Deanna, this isn't just bad, this is really bad. What are some of the other teachers saying?
Adrian, another claim in that very letter that students are filming fights and then posting them online. Other teachers have told us they've been targeted for their race, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. They've had slurs yelled out at them. One teacher said they overheard a student say to a staff member, "Why don't you try sending me to the office? That worked out really well for you last time, didn't it?" So complete defiance.
So what is the school board doing? How has it responded to this?
The Peel District School Board said they are investigating some of the allegations in the letter and that some students have already been suspended.
Some. All right, Deanna, thank you. I know you're going to stay on it. The parent company of ChatGPT is being investigated by several of Canada's privacy regulators. OpenAI is accused of collecting and disclosing the personal information of users without their consent. The federal watchdog's probe will be supported by provincial privacy authorities in Quebec, British Columbia, and Alberta. Last month, Italy temporarily banned ChatGPT over similar privacy concerns. Well, just 4 days from now, the people of Alberta will choose their next government. Many have already voted. Interest is high at a time when household budgets are tight. Today, the two main contenders hammered home their plans to help with affordability. Julia Wong shows us what's on the table.
Rising prices are making life difficult for Selena Strayhorn.
Gas prices, groceries, rent prices are skyrocketing again. All of this stuff, it gets hard to live.
And that is weighing on the Edmonton woman's mind as she casts her ballot.
Being a small business owner, you're not making a lot of income right now.
Affordability and cost of living are playing a big role in the final days of the campaign.
Definitely see the prices of food increase, and as younger adults, we're definitely noticing the cost of rent increasing.
That's an important issue. We look around and see a lot of needs out there.
The key to success for Alberta families is a strong economy.
The United Conservatives say if re-elected, they would forbid any increase in personal or corporate taxes unless approved by a referendum.
This commitment will protect Alberta job creators, employers, employees, families, and investors from job-killing NDP tax increases. Tax increases that Rachel Notley is running on that will drive away businesses, investment, and jobs once again.
The NDP's plan for affordability includes a cap on electricity prices, a freeze on car insurance premiums, and a new tax credit for children's activities.
This will save the vast majority of Albertans nearly $1,000, and many, many families will save considerably more than that. This is a real investment in long-term affordability so that Albertans will see savings permanently on an ongoing basis.
Advanced voting in Alberta has been higher than in the 2019 election. One political scientist says the focus on affordability may be that extra nudge for undecided voters.
I think what we're seeing in the last days here is very much an appeal to economic voters, to voters who want to see how they will be better off under one party or the other.
So, Julia, how do you expect the next few days to go?
So, Adrian, it'll be a sprint to the finish. There's no doubt about that. Both main party leaders are doing what they can to get out the vote. And then there's that big focus on Calgary. Now, that city is the #1 battleground in this election, and the seats won there could very well decide who becomes the next premier. Advanced voting wraps on Saturday, and then Election Day is Monday.
All right, Julia Wong, we'll see you on election night. And Ian will host Sunday's edition of The National from Alberta's capital. He'll be speaking with voters for their take on the eve of Election Day. As well, Rosie and the Ad Issue panel will also dig deeper into this election. Why is it so close? What could happen once the dust settles? That's coming up in 15 minutes. Two funding announcements from the federal government today. The Coast Guard will receive $2.5 billion to be used to build 61 smaller vessels. Those include barges and workboats that can operate in shallow coastal waters, some lakes and rivers.
I am very pleased to announce a combined funding of more than $12 million to help strengthen community safety and crime prevention here in Akwesasne.
And more than $10 million of that funding will go to the Akwesasne police force over 5 years to help it fight organized crime alongside other Canadian and U.S. agencies. The chief said new surveillance equipment will help keep better watch on the border. This comes after the bodies of 8 migrants were pulled from the St. Lawrence River in mid-March. They were trying to reach the U.S. from Canada. The James Smith Cree Nation in Saskatchewan is trying to turn a corner nearly 9 months after it was shaken by the deadly tragedy of Canada's worst stabbing in history. Sam Sampson shows us its first powwow since that horrible episode and why it's so important.
This women's traditional event is special for Samara Stonestand. It's dedicated to Bonnie Burns, a victim of the stabbings and Stonestand's godmother.
It was a tough couple of months, and it finally feels like real, something real.
Yeah, it's something that makes you feel alive.
Yeah, and back to reality.
This is the first powwow in James Smith Cree Nation since what's now known as Canada's worst mass stabbing, a symbol of perseverance after the unimaginable. Early on September 4th, 32-year-old Miles Sanderson went on a stabbing rampage in his own community. RCMP say he and his brother Damien were planning something. In the days before the attack, the two were selling drugs and assaulting some residents. That morning, though, Damien became Miles' first homicide victim. He killed 10 others and brutally injured 17 more. Stonestand says she was threatened by Miles Sanderson that day. Now she's focused on therapy, graduating high school, and her future.
My plans are to become, what is it called? Investigator.
Days like this could help with what's to come. There are 2 inquiries in January to look into what happened here. One into Miles Sanderson's death in police custody, and the other a detailed inquiry to prevent future violence.
Band officials say they've focused on working with the children in James Smith since the stabbings.
The culture is going to get us through this. The language, the protocols, the rituals, the ceremonies will take us further than we can ever go.
In the new school year, even more trauma-focused programs for students to help them through the stabbings and what some say caused them, addictions and intergenerational trauma. Community leaders say breaking that cycle has to start with the young. Sam Sampson, CBC News, James Smith Cree Nation, Saskatchewan.
There was a brief moment of alarm in London today after a car struck the gates outside the British Prime Minister's residence at number 10 Downing Street. So video footage shows a vehicle approaching at a pretty slow speed just before impact. Police promptly arrested a man on suspicion of criminal damage and dangerous driving. No one was hurt in the incident, which is not believed to be terror-related. In Ukraine, the battle for Bakhmut appears to be entering a new phase tonight. The Wagner Group, a private Russian mercenary force, says it has begun handing control to the Russian military. Here's Margaret Evans.
A precarious road to safety. Ukrainian soldiers captured by the Russians fighting in Bakhmut now exchanged in a prisoner swap. 106 on the Ukrainian side, not all standing. Those who are the lucky ones. The 9-month battle for the city in eastern Ukraine came to be known as the meat grinder. Russia has been claiming complete control of Bakhmut for 5 days now. Masters of a ruin. 70,000 people once lived in the city. Ukraine insists it still has a presence. But the victory lap came from Yevgeny Prigozhin, whose mercenary militiamen did much of Russia's Bakhmut fighting. Now, he says, they'll hand over to the Russian army. Before June 1st, most units will be relocated to the rear camps, he's saying. We're transferring positions, ammunition, everything to the military. Prigozhin says he lost 20,000 men in the battle, 10,000 of them convicts recruited from Russia's prisons. Ukraine and the U.S. have said the number is much higher. Kyiv won't comment on its casualty numbers. Analysts say there's little strategic gain for either side in controlling Bakhmut. But the bloodier the battle, the deeper its symbolic value has embedded itself in the conflict. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited troops along other parts of the Eastern Front on Tuesday. Our wish for you all is victory, he said. We understand it will not be a sweet one because so many of our warriors, our people, have died. And more, no doubt, still to come, with Ukraine's long-promised spring pushback still on the horizon. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
People in communities devastated by wildfires have been waiting for weeks to return home with no relief in sight.
It hurts to see Canada and Alberta going to flames, you know.
How overwhelmed shelters are forcing families to make some difficult decisions. A warning about this year's hurricanes. There is uncertainty ahead.
There may not necessarily be more storms, but there may be more of the higher end varieties.
And an impromptu show for people stuck at a ferry terminal.
And just out of the blue, this dinosaur just rose up and started breathing fire.
We're back in 2. Well, residents on the U.S. territory of Guam are cleaning up after a powerful typhoon made landfall Wednesday. Most of the Pacific island is still without power and water. Officials have issued a boil water advisory as crews work to restore some critical infrastructure. The Category 4 storm is one of the strongest to hit Guam in decades. And the Atlantic hurricane season officially starts next week. Today, Canada's Hurricane Centre forecast how active that could be, even as many in Atlantic Canada attempt to reassemble life and property just 8 months after Fiona's fury. Here's Chris O'Neill-Yates.
Atlantic Canada's most costly storm ever shows the havoc hurricanes can unleash. In places like Port aux Basques, Newfoundland, the recovery from Fiona has been slow. And the question on many minds, could it happen again this year? Today, an uncertain answer from the hurricane forecast.
The warm water in the Atlantic and the El Nino, which are two completely different influences, it's the combination of those two that results in the uncertainty.
This year, 12 to 17 named storms are projected, with 5 to 9 becoming hurricanes and 1 to 4 expected to be major storms. But the overall forecast is considered average.
There may not necessarily be more storms, but there may be more of the higher end variety.
And because of climate change, hurricanes now typically dump much more rain.
Know your risks and sit down with your insurance representative and to make sure that you have the right coverage.
Haydock advises people to take precautions and not to wait to inspect their roof, clear their gutters, fix fences and other structures.
The direction that we're going is to start focusing less on the numbers and more on the impacts.
So that people will begin to prepare for hurricanes as an annual event and not a last-minute scramble. Chris O'Neill-Yates, CBC News, St. John's.
The fight against wildfires in Alberta is slowly progressing, but it's far from over. So right now, more than 50 are still burning right across the province. About 15 of them are out of control. That has left more than 5,300 people under evacuation orders. In northern Alberta, many have no idea when they will be able to return home or what will be left when they do. And as Kayla Hansel shows us, that has one community preparing for the long haul.
Yeah, then we just picked them up too.
Kenneth Bolio got these shoes from a donation center. He's been living outside since he was forced out of his home by fire almost 2 weeks ago.
It's actually been rough, actually. It's been, I ain't gonna lie, I actually do miss home, a lot.
He lives in the community of Chate, part of the Denetha First Nation.
The nights are just horrible. You got machines, you got these big generators behind us, and it's cold.
With so many evacuees, hotels here in the nearby town of High Level are full. So the First Nation is now setting up a temporary camp, bringing in trailers to house 400 people because they still don't know when people will be able to go home.
A time for them to kind of reconnect with themselves and just to be aware that we are in one place and looking after one another. That's important.
Crews are also clearing land to set up a temporary mental health facility, which will be funded by the federal government. This is the 5th time the community has been evacuated in the last 6 years due to forest fires or floods.
I need to get something done because it's too traumatizing. It's too, ever since the water and the flood and everything happened.
It's pretty hard to be moved all over the place. You don't even know where you're going next.
Elder Celine Mercredi says she's grateful for the temporary mental health facility.
They will need it badly. Because even now here, people talk to me and I have nowhere to send them.
They hope to have the pop-up facility open within 3 weeks. In the meantime, Bolio is asking Canadians for prayers.
It hurts to see Canada and Alberta going to flames, you know. It hurts so much to see that.
And everyone here is keenly aware this is just the beginning of Alberta's wildfire season. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Denethor First Nation.
And after the break, Rosie has that issue tonight from Calgary. Hey, Rosie.
Hi, Adrian. Tonight we're going to talk about the opposition's renewed calls for a public inquiry into foreign interference. What more is the opposition willing to do to put pressure on the government? Chantal, Althea, Andrew, and Kelly Kreiderman will join me to talk about that and more. Hi there, I'm Rosemary Barton. Here's what's at issue this week.
We as a committee have decided that he should be appearing. He's been very receptive to appearing.
David Johnston has agreed to appear before MPs to face their questions about why he didn't call for a public inquiry into foreign interference. The opposition parties agree an inquiry is necessary, but they are divided over how far they should push to force one.
If Jagmeet Singh decides for once to do his job and work for Canadians instead of working for Justin Trudeau, then Parliament can force Trudeau to hold a full public inquiry.
We're going to look at other tools to continue to push for a public inquiry. We think that is so essential and so important right now.
So should the NDP pull their support for the Liberals over this? Can the opposition parties pressure the government to hold an inquiry? Let's bring in at issue Chantal Hébert, Althea Raj, Andrew Coyne, and Kelly Kreiderman is joining us tonight from Calgary, where I am as well, because we'll talk about the election coming up as well. Andrew, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, we talked Tuesday about what David Johnston said. I'm wondering in the couple of days since then whether you've seen any indication that the government may have to change course, or whether the opposition parties feel they have a fighting chance in getting them to do that.
I don't think they feel like they have to change course at this point, particularly because the NDP looks like they're not going to hold their feet to the fire on this. Mr. Singh is taking a sort of a middle path, I think a relatively creative one, of saying, I'll go in and look at these documents that Mr. Poilievre refuses to look at, but I want assurances that if I do so, I'll have some sort of freedom to be able to speak my mind if I don't like what I see, if in fact they don't back up what Mr. Johnston has said. All that being said, we're still in this position where we're putting the onus on the opposition to disprove Mr. Johnston's report, his findings, rather than I think the onus which should be on the government. We're still in this process where, let's put it this way, if the government was actually interested in rebuilding trust, where we got a story here where they've been alleged to have benefited from interference by a foreign power to their benefit, I would think a government in that position would be going out of its way to show that this was a completely open and above board process. It would, at the very least, have got as a rapporteur somebody who had no connection to the Prime Minister or the government or the Liberal Party or the Trudeau Foundation at all. Instead, they did the opposite there. But more than that, they would be getting somebody who was absolutely acceptable to the opposition parties. When you're talking about something that is a breach of trust potentially between the parties, that seem to be absolutely above and beyond. They should be the one who have the onus on them rather than the opposition to play ball with the government.
Though it seems to me, Chantal, that David Johnston was actually saying the onus is on Parliament to do its job for parliamentarians. But I take Andrew's point that it's more up to the opposition parties to agree to that. But what do you think about how the government should rebuild trust given what has happened?
Well, before I go to the government, I'm going to go to Jagmeet Singh. I think he is taking a responsible path and looking for answers and giving himself or making sure he has the freedom to say, this is what I saw, not going into specifics, breaching national security code. Right. I also believe, despite the position of Mr. Poilievre and Mr. Blanchet, that it is totally possible to go look at this annex and these facts, and to still believe that a public inquiry or an inquiry of some kind is necessary to rebuild trust. I'm skeptical about the notion that you will not want to know what you could know, but you will go in the House of Commons next week, if you're Pierre Poilievre or Yves-François Blanchet, and present the government with constructs of your own that are not based on the entire picture. I also believe that once you have taken into account all the facts and the big picture, a normal opposition party should still be able to find grounds to question the government's course of action.
Isn't that kind of the point, though, Althea, that if Pierre Poilievre, if he feels he goes to see the documents, that he feels in some way he won't be able to attack the government in the same way if he's actually seen what David Johnston's talking about?
So on Jagmeet Singh, I think, frankly, is like the only person that seems kind of statesman-like on this whole issue. The fact that you would have an opposition leader who chooses not to get sworn in, not to see the evidence or the supporting document that has fueled this whole discussion, because you cannot separate in your own head what is classified information versus what is not classified information, is ludicrous. Like, I think we talked about this on Tuesday, but you know, the Prime Minister is capable of doing this. The Minister of Public Safety is capable of doing this. Everybody who works at CSIS is capable of doing this. You should want to know what is at the source of this. And you can, yes. I mean, David Johnston is even asking you, please say publicly if you disagree with my findings. So it makes no sense. And to have, you know, the Bloc Québécois leader calling it a trap, Mr. Poilievre saying that he will not be silenced, this is just stupid. I don't know what else to say about it. And Jagmeet Singh, you know, it's a nice lob that Mr. Poilievre is trying to suggest to Mr. Singh to basically have an election over this issue. But do Canadians care more about free dental care, or do they care more about whether or not the government turned a blind eye to foreign interference? I think Mr. Singh is betting that more Canadians care about getting access to dental care.
Chantal, quickly, and then I'll get Kellyanne. Yeah,
but do Canadians care that the opposition leaders who would present them with a rationale for having an election over this would have wanted to know all the facts that they could have known? The notion that Pierre Poilievre will not be able to attack the government if he goes and finds out what the big picture looks like is kind of saying, I don't want to know more because it allows me to say just about anything I want. I don't think that advances the debate in any way, shape, or form.
The only reason the opposition leaders are in that position is because Mr. Johnston has ruled out a public inquiry. If there was a public inquiry, the opposition leaders would not be having to answer these questions.
Yeah, but that is where we are now.
No, because they wouldn't know anything in a public inquiry either.
Let's get Kellyanne.
Jagmeet Singh might be taking the high road in this, but why does he have to? Why does he have to figure out that road? Why isn't there a path that is well laid out for opposition leaders to get this information? And he's having to have a back and forth with the Prime Minister's office on this. And again, I don't think it's up. I do think that if I was an opposition leader, I would be interested in this information, but we don't know what parameters will be put on learning this information. We don't know what the federal Liberals will throw back at the opposition leaders once they are led into this. And again, I think it comes back to the onus being on this government, and this also being a case of partisan political interference. And that is the problem with all of this.
Yeah, quickly, Althea.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily opposed to public inquiry. I've come and I believe that this is frankly the better way for the public, for Mr. Johnston, for the government. I would not be surprised if the Liberals actually try to get rid of Mr. Johnston as to have another person overseeing the public hearings in the fall. But I would just like to say that this whole discussion over the opposition leaders and whether or not they'll get sworn to secrecy has kind of taken away from some of the findings of facts that are actually in Mr. Johnston's report. I mean, there's actually real questions to be talking about that Mr. Johnston has uncovered, but we're not talking about them.
Andrew, 20 seconds, then Chantal.
Just to be critical of Mr. Poilievre, when a government is behaving as furtively and you know, not reaching out and not building public trust the way that this government is, that is the time it behooves an opposition leader to take the high road, to be the statesman. And the fact that he's turned what are legitimate concerns and questions into what look more, in his mouth, ugly and partisan, means he's basically giving the government a free ride.
Chantal.
I agree with Andrew on that point. I also agree with Althea that the government probably would like, and I believe Mr. Johnston should have, if he'd not been tone deaf to the political audience, said someone else needs to do the rest of this path, not me.
Okay, I got to take a short break. Kelly, we'll start with you in the next round because we will be back with another round, and it's Kelly's favorite topic. Albertans preparing to head to the polls. What does the election mean, potentially, for the rest of the country? That's next on The National. Welcome to another round of At Issue. Albertans getting ready to head to the polls this Monday in a tightly contested race.
This election is a choice between a united Conservative Party that's lowered taxes, balanced the budget, and returned Alberta to its place as the economic powerhouse of Canada. Or we can choose to go backward with the NDP and their recycled policies.
In this election, I urge you to vote to make sure the values we share, the sensible, stable, moderate values of Alberta's majority, are reflected in our government.
So what could be the outcome on Monday, and what impact could this election have on the rest of the country? Let's bring everybody back. Chantal, Althea, Andrew, and Kelly Kreiderman, who's in Calgary, as am I. Kelly, you can start us off. This does appear to be an unusually tight race for this province, and I wonder what you think that might be due to.
It is, absolutely, but this is also, only the second election that we've had with a united Conservative Party, partially created by Jason Kenney. It's kind of, we haven't seen anything like this. We haven't seen, this is another rare election where the NDP is actually in contention when, that certainly didn't exist even 10 years ago. So there's a lot of precedent-setting things, and it's really interesting about how close it's been, and how the race has gone over this past month, of course, kind of muted by the wildfires and ups and downs with the parties. I think things were really set about a week ago when we heard the ethics commissioner's report and when the debate happened. Mm-hmm. And when I talked to Conservatives this week, they're feeling some wind in their sails because of the debate, because Danielle Smith, who has been portrayed by the NDP, by her critics, as someone who says crazy things all the time, was steady and calm and performed reasonably in the debate, so she surpassed expectations. And there's this big concept with them about things being baked in or not, and whether the concern that they are hearing at the doors as they campaign in Calgary about Danielle Smith, about her leadership, whether those concerns are already baked into the decision-making process. Mm-hmm. And this week, it feels like everything is colliding, and you do feel that the NDP is trying hard to emphasize not only the ways that they differ from the UCP, but all the flaws with the UCP, including the past 4 tough years under Jason Kenney and now under Danielle Smith.
One of the things I think, though, for the rest of the country, Chantal, watching this election that's interesting is, depending on the outcome, how that might shift Ottawa's relationship with Alberta and the country's relationship with Alberta, depending on what kind of premier they get, one who really wants to be tough and independent versus one who might be a little more collaborative.
And looking at the federal-provincial makeup, I'd say that the first question is how isolated would Alberta be if the current government is reconducted versus whether if the NDP takes power. I don't sense that there is a lot of appetite in Ontario and Quebec to join Alberta in that kind of a fight, and certainly not in BC where the NDP is in power. So you're basically talking possibly more friction between Alberta and the rest of the country versus less. And I'm not saying that Rachel Notley would be an easy partner for any of the people that I'm talking about. But if I were Pierre Poilievre, I'm not sure that I would really wish for the election of a Conservative government next week, because he too will wear whatever Danielle Smith does, and that will not necessarily play well in Ontario.
Althea?
Yeah, it was interesting today. Pierre Poilievre decided to do an endorsement video for Danielle Smith, and while it repeated a lot of the UCP lines that we've heard in the past from Ms. Smith herself about how Rachel Notley would be listening to her bosses in Ottawa, Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh. What is interesting to me is his decision, which is kind of late in the process. I mean, it polls, and this is the weekend where people are supposed to make their minds. It's interesting to me that he would come out. Stephen Harper had come out in April and endorsed Danielle Smith. But so many of the voters that Pierre Poilievre needs in Ontario are not going to look at this Danielle Smith endorsement and think like, this makes sense to me. And it also, I think, opens him up for not the first time, but on a big point of hypocrisy. You know, he was very firm against Justin Trudeau and the SNC Lavalin thing. And here is Danielle Smith, arguably, I would argue, doing something far worse. And he says nothing about it, not that you would expect him to, but he endorses her. So I don't think that this was very strategically a wise move.
Andrew?
I would agree with that, and I think we have potentially trouble ahead of us as a country if Danielle Smith wins, and that's a big if. I mean, the most nervous people at this moment have to be the pollsters, because this is, I think, an insanely difficult election to model turnout, which will be absolutely determinative of who wins with such close polling numbers. But if she does win, I know that the Alberta Sovereignty Act was not front and center in this election campaign, but you can bet your boots she's going to claim it as a mandate and a validation and vindication of it. And there are fights ahead on, emissions caps and other issues on the federal provincial file. And I would not put it at all past her to start invoking the act to try to wield it as a cudgel in those kinds of fights. She's got people around her advising her who are not on planet Earth, to be frank with you. And she has shown serially in the past that she's highly suggestible. She does not examine proposals that are put to her with nearly the kind of searching scrutiny she should. And so the combination of those two things is we could see some really quite radical proposals coming out of Edmonton, and I think we should all be bracing for it.
Kelly?
I just want to speak to Poilievre. I think, the fact that that endorsement is coming out today shows that the UCP is still worried. There are a lot of connections between Danielle Smith and Pierre Poilievre. They've known each other for 25 years. They both came from that Calgary school. And I think they do see eye to eye on a lot of issues like energy. And when we talk about the issues that are likely to be contentious, I think it's less going to be the Sovereignty Act, because a lot of people wonder how it's actually workable, and that is a major issue. Can you actually put it into place? What is going to be the big fight is over energy issues, over the cap that we're going to hear, the oil and gas emissions cap that we're going to hear more details on electricity, on Alberta withdrawing from the Canada pension plan. Some of these items that have flown under the radar, if the UCP is elected, are likely to become more contentious. But I don't think there's a lot of distance between Pierre Poilievre and Danielle Smith on a number of issues. Certainly, she could be a liability for him in some other parts of Canada, but they come from the same place.
Chantal?
Yes, and that would be a problem to Ontario voters. I watched Mr. Poilievre go to Quebec this week. Didn't have a stellar reception anywhere, including in ridings that he owns, in part his own fault. But if he's not going to do well in Quebec, he absolutely needs to convince Ontario voters that he is the Prime Minister that they want. And this is not an association that will make Ontario voters look up and say, this is our guy.
Okay, well, we'll all be watching with great interest on Monday. Thank you all very much for this. Appreciate it. And now I'll throw things back to Adrian in Toronto.
Thank you, Rosie. Next, the monster truck that's bringing the heat.
It was like straight out of a Transformer movie.
A fire-breathing dragon at the ferry terminal in Armagh.
Looks like he wants a little barbecue going on here right now.
Well, that beautiful beast is known as the Megasaurus. This is its natural habitat, munching on cars at monster truck rallies. But in between shows, it travels just like the rest of us. And while waiting for a ferry, the Megasaurus put on a mega show for the passengers who were stuck for hours. Its spontaneous performance is our moment.
It was like straight out of a Transformer movie. It was crazy. We would have been all waiting there for about 4 hours at the Nanaimo Departure Bay ferry terminal.
What the hell?
Everyone was kind of getting cranky.
Is it?
And just out of the blue, this dinosaur just rose up and started breathing fire.
And it definitely seemed to help the mood there at the terminal, definitely.
I think all the kids really loved it.
Whoa!
They might have been a little bit frightened. I could hear their reaction. It was screaming.
And as we were floating there away, we overheard the intercoms at the BC terminal.
May I have your attention, please? The oversized vehicle with the dragon. Can you please stop with the fire? Thank you.
You could hear everybody laugh. It was hilarious.
Our main focus is to bring smiles to families' faces. And that's pretty much what it's all about.
Can you stop with the fire? I think that's my favorite announcement ever. This is next level. Anyone who's lived in BC has waited in a ferry lineup for hours. The most exciting thing I ever did was order and get pizza delivered to the lineup. I would have loved to have seen the Megasaurus. That is a national for May the 25th. Thank you for being with us. Have a good night.